Kaimere is a distant planet. The indigenous life of this world, called magic by the people who live there, are hives of microbes that can manipulate the world around them. Although they can move objects either by electrical pulses between members of the hive, or working together to inflate their helium air sacs and lift, it is much easier to manipulate their environment by using a multicellular host. For millions of years, hives have utilized hosts to perform a wide range of tasks, but the process was not locked to a single body, and they were usually just along for the ride. All that changed with the rise of the first children, an ancient civilization that harnessed magic. One of the most infamous uses of this magic was to work with a hive to create a body for it to inhabit, a form inextricably linked to the hive, and the two forms were codependent. These beings were called homunculi by Kaimeran scholars. I've done a full episode on the history of these creations, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'll link it to the top right corner there. The first children and most of their creations are long gone, but a few homunculi have integrated into the ecosystems of Kaimere. Giants and harpies are among the most famous of these. The known world is a region defined by water. A vast inland sea takes up most of the map, establishing the borders of nations and peoples, and setting the stage for war and trade. The shallow inland sea and the deep ocean surrounding the continents means that Kaimerans are never far from water. It is foundational to their daily lives, culture, and mythologies. Naturally, beings that can live beneath the waves are popular heroes, villains, and monsters in the story of people surrounded by water. Some of these stories are just what they seem. Others are rooted in some truth, embellished accounts of homunculi or natural demons passed down in stories and song. There are some regions of the known world, however, where these beings are very real. Although there is much to say about the fairy tales and mythology surrounding merfolk, likely and verified accounts are the subject of today's video. Although mermaids in modern stories here on Earth are typically benevolent, in antiquity our stories typically portrayed merfolk as antagonists. The Assembly has found evidence of some merfolk homunculi passing through the portal in the aftermath of the Demon Wars, which is probably inspiration for some of these stories. The role of merfolk as marine predators has a long history in Kaimere too. Most famous of these is the Milak. They are truly monstrous. Generally, they are accepted as being homunculi based on similar reconstructions in a currently untranslated codex by the first children, although this may represent a similar but distinct creation. Although their genetic base is Kaimeran, they possess the homeobox genes of scorpionfish and sea robins. The chest cavity of their human torso is part of their mouths, which quickly reveals their horrifying nature as they approach prey. Although intelligent, they seem to view other beings as prey or potential offspring. Like many homunculi, they reproduce by creating thralls, using another being as a host to their hive. The host does not need to be alive, in fact they usually drown their victims before injection, so that the magic does not need to compete with the host's immune system, and can basically fuel all functions as a clean slate. Being able to reproduce in this way has made them quite successful, and they number in the hundreds to even thousands along the southern coasts, Parcardia and Arvel, and throughout the southern islands. Another antagonistic and predatory merfolk is the Gircoon. They are found throughout the Siritic wetlands, most common deep within the wetlands to the north. They resemble a Ranjuyo hyenodont from the waist down. Usually they feed on fish, but they are well known to ambush Kaimerans. It is not known if they are Kaimerans with hyenodont appearance, or the other way around. There is debate among scholars if they are homunculi or naturally occurring strain of demons. The most popular story among these Sirid is that the Ranjuyo consumed a witch, and the witch's magic turned the predator into the appearance of the person because the magic was afraid of being eaten. Although there are enough consistent sightings that scholars are confident that they are real, until a specimen of these elusive beings is captured, the question of their origins or true nature remains unanswered. The generally reclusive nature of merfolk means that many are categorized as uncertain if they are even real or not. One that was only recently confirmed by naturalists of the Empire was the Abagora, or salmon folk, of the Picardian highlands. The Picardians say they are people who consumed enchanted salmon and were blessed with the ability to swim and breathe water, helping them survive in the Great Lakes of the Highlands. The truth of their origins are, like the Gircoon and Milak, unknown. They are very reclusive, but the Highlanders say that they can speak and are known to trade. Stories of them hunting and killing Kaimerans are only told in the lowlands, and those who actually live near the Abagora are confident that they are peaceful. The most famous and thoroughly researched merfolk are called the Kalirim by the indigenous peoples of the Kenta Islands in the northern waters of the Inland Sea. This region is comprised of thousands of scattered islands. Unlike the seagrass meadows that make up a majority of the sea, these regions are mostly coral reefs. There is a long-standing relationship with the Kaimerans, positive enough that they have shared much of their culture and are willing to speak with imperial scholars vouched for by these allies. The Kalirim were homunculi created by the first children. They do not speak of their creators, nor confirm why they were created, and seem to view their makers with a decidedly hateful light. There are dozens of different Kalirim, each with their own aspect of a marine animal, be it fish, mammal, reptile, or bird. Those with fish anatomy can breathe water as a supplement, but need to breathe air to get their full necessary oxygen intake. Like many homunculi, they can reproduce by making thralls of Kaimerans by sharing their magic and altering their forms. Some can also birth clones of themselves. Estimates vary, but as many as 5,000 Kalirim are believed to inhabit the Northern Sea. Some of the originals of their respective lineages are said to be still alive, which would make them among the most ancient organisms in Kaimere. The Kalirim have formed a cohesive society in the reefs with a covenant that they agree to adhere to. This is in conjunction with treaties they share with the Kentarim, which fundamentally establish fishing territories, regions that Kentarim won't go, and sets the rules regarding turning Kaimerans into thralls. Thralls must be released from the mental control that typically goes with being created, so they are fully autonomous beings. Turning an unwilling Kaimeran into a merfolk is a serious breach of covenant, and is strictly punished. Fortunately for the continued survival of the Kalirim, many Kaimerans are drawn to the sea and willingly undergo the transformation. This practice has drawn suspicion from many mainlanders, particularly the nearby and famously anti-magic Republic, and the increasing number of islands being pressured into annexation as protectorate states of the Kadroth Republic have made many Kalirim distance themselves from this once harmonious relationship. For a realm so defined by water, it should be no surprise that beings at home in the sea, both true and fantastical, should hold such significance to the peoples of Kaimere. Many say that the ocean calls to them, and for some lucky few, the magic of Kaimere provides an embrace to that desire. Thank you so much to Maria for sponsoring this episode. The Merfolk of Kaimere is a subject I've wanted to cover for a while now, and it was fun to get the sponsorship during the month of May, or MerMay, when so many artists are putting together some really exciting pieces. Stefan over at Graphite has done a piece featuring one of his mermaid characters alongside the greater eagle shark of Kaimere. Love the angles and energy of his piece. Stefan has done a lot more mermaid pieces. If you would like to see more of and support their work, I highly recommend you check out the link tree attached in the description below, also up here on the right. That's all for today. Thanks to everyone for watching, and to all my patrons for their support, and last but not least, to Maria for this sponsorship. Stay fantastic, everyone. Cheers, folks!